What's the, I didn't know. Yeah. Yeah. You did? Oh. Yeah.
Test, test. Kim, can you hear me? Right in the little chat box. Can you hear me?
Can you hear me? Yes.
Okay.
I've never used Zoom before.
Okay. I'm muting all of you, just so you know. Thanks, Chris. And you cannot unmute yourself. So if you can figure out how to raise your hand on here, there's a way to do it too. Chris and I muted everybody and you can't unmute yourself, just so you know. But there's the chat box if you know how to use that. Nice. Oh, there's Chris. I'm gonna fiddle around with this so I can see, like, okay. Thank you. All right, you're all unmuted now for the moment.
Sweet.
Is the oppression over?
It is. So one of the things that Roger told me from IT is people, because these meetings are public, people are just typing in random Zoom meeting numbers and joining meetings and showing up naked to public meetings.
Really?
So that's why I'm seeing how I can stop your video, because I did not set up a waiting room, but in the waiting room you can mute and stop recording on participants. So that's what I was practicing here. I'm just gonna try and be on the ball in case somebody shows up naked. But
That's crazy.
apparently that's a thing that people are doing now, which, you know.
Amazing.
If you pull up your chat box, which if you click on chat at the bottom, you'll get a chat box on the right, and what you type in, it says "to everybody." By the way, you're being recorded. You can click on that and then private message. The thing is, because it's being recorded afterwards, if somebody downloads the transcripts, all the private messages come up as well. So don't mock me privately, because I will be able to
Matter. Just do it in public.
That's right.
Just
I'd
do it in
rather
public, right?
just hear it publicly. So
If you insist.
these are the things that I'm learning about Zoom. The other thing I'm learning is, let's see if I can do it here. Yeah.
Whoa.
Look at that.
That's cool.
Ouch.
Here.
Buddy, I need you to come down.
Oh yeah. Just chilling at the beach, guys. Hi, Michelle.
Where's that from? Virtual background.
Yeah. Virtual background.
Do I not have a video on?
On the bottom of your screen, there should be. What do you want? There you are. We can see you.
cool. Hey, Christine. Need something to prop this up with or something.
Books.
I know. Is that that? Oh.
Michelle, at some point I'm gonna mute everybody and click off your videos, but I will let you back on.
Okay. I'll be here.
All right, I'm gonna mute everybody now just so you all know.
So long.
Wow.
Hey Matt, just so you know, and Chris, I have muted everybody. I'm gonna unmute you all now. There you go.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Uh-oh.
Mr. Burnham, that's a very nice scene in the background there.
Thank you. Thank you. The mountain's quite cold.
You can do that too, Chris.
I know I'll do it next time. Ooh, that's a nice 1990s headset.
Thank you.
No, I was talking to Matt.
Oh,
Nice, Matt.
Similar.
How do you guys do that?
Matt, what's space like?
I know, Matt, please. That's a Oh wait.
Hey.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
See, Chris, I prefer not to have the whole world hear what I have to say or get relegated down to the basement like you are.
Hey, I got basement shamed on our last meeting, so at least I had to put something up behind me.
True.
Can you guys see me? Oh, wait. Why isn't this?
No, we can't. Here.
There's Cindy.
There you are, Cindy.
Oh, hi. Thanks. Hi, everybody.
Hi,
Hi,
everybody.
Cindy.
So, what I'm going to do, just so you guys all know, is I am going to, hang on, I'm gonna make this a little bit bigger. So what IT has told us is because the hackers are bored, what they are doing now is because Zoom meetings are public and they can just type in any old ID, people are joining random Zoom meetings without any clothes on. So they're
whoops.
coming into
Sorry.
public meetings. So what I didn't do this time, but I will do in the future, is set up a waiting room so that I can mute you and turn off your video before you come in, so I can make sure that it's you. So if anybody else looks to hop in, I can stop them from coming in if I don't know who they are. So since it looks like it's just going to be the 9 of us, I'm going to leave us all unmuted. But sometimes when people are starting to talk over us, which I'm sure is very unusual for this group, we can mute everybody and then ask people to raise their hands, and then I can unmute them, or you can unmute yourselves. So that's all. Chris, this is a public meeting, so now that we are at quorum, you can start your typical proceedings.
All right, I apologize. I'm switching between screens and everything, but I'd like to call the order of the meeting of the Park and Rec Commission for Monday, March 30th at 7:02 p.m. Looks like we have all commissioners present, along with our director, our assistant director, and other staff members being Kim Parsons, Chris, and Kristen Wright. So I want to say, first of all, thank everybody for doing this tonight. I know with the times we're living in, this is kind of a first for a lot of us. So I appreciate everyone taking a few minutes out of their night tonight, just so we can all kind of be on the same page. I definitely want to give a shout out to the Park and Rec staff, Stacy and all you folks. You guys have been doing a great job keeping everything up to date with social media blast and everything. Like I said, this is times we've never really been in before. And just with the communication that your department has been doing, I want to give everybody the credit that is due. So thank you all for kind of working, you know, late into the hour or early into the mornings or sitting on the couch in your PJs. So I appreciate the work being done. One other thing I'd just like to say is that I know we all heard the tragic news of our fellow commissioner, Mr. David Chico. It was very sad news to hear what had happened, and it's, you know, there's a part of us that's now lost with Dave not being part of the group. As I mentioned, there's always going to be a chair for Dave, and it's a shame right now that there's nothing that we can do because of the times that we're in. But once we make this through, we will definitely show our respect to Dave and his family. And I can only wish nothing but the best for him and his family right now. So just wanted to kind of get that out there.
Thank you.
All right. So what I kind of like to go into is that I know that you had sent reports in regards to where we stand with director report, program reports. So what I'll do is I'll kind of let you and Angela jump into that right now, and then we can jump into a bunch of discussion items. With speaking with Stacy is that if there's anything that isn't on the agenda, what I was thinking is that we can word it in the items not anticipated within the chair within 48 hours. So if there's any topic that we kind of want to talk about that isn't currently on the agenda right now, let's wait to that time period and we can have a kind of brief discussion about that. So I'll hand it over to both you and Angela right now, Stacy, and then we'll go from there, okay?
Okay, so the director's report that was sent earlier today, and thank you, Matt, for the reminder, since it totally slipped my mind. We are all working remotely with the exception of, in rare cases, Angela and or Kristen have had to go in. Currently, the town manager's office is, you have to get granted access from either Kate or Dave Davison to access any town building. So most of our work is done remotely. Either the staff has been meeting daily on Teams, Microsoft Teams, and video chatting, and then whenever else necessary, either via cell phone or team chat. So IT has set us up so that we can all access all the things that we need remotely. Some of us are working on not the best computer systems, but it is what it is, and we can all get in access now, which is what matters. Spring programs, we will skip over because Angela worked on the report for that. Parks and Forestry is the big one. I talked to Ed last week. We have another call this week. When I first talked to him, they were on a on-call basis only, helping out with things. And now they are, Angela, correct me if I'm wrong, they're on like a split week. So one person's in 1 week, one team's in another week. But they're doing really, you're muted, Angela. You should be able to unmute yourself.
He's still talking.
She's still talking. Angela, you're muted. I can't unmute you. I'm trying.
There she
There
is.
you
There
go.
you are.
You had me muted. I couldn't.
Oh. Sorry. So I think they're on a split schedule. Is that correct?
They are. I talked to Tiffany today, this afternoon actually, and she has reached out to Eddie and Bob Lewis as well as Rick Merson. They are going around tomorrow and locking all of our parks that they can lock. And they're going to the extent of trying to get construction fence right now to line everything that they can't lock up right now. So that would be the playgrounds, any other thing. They also are going to barricade the parking lots so people can't go into the parking lots, and Admiral Grace as well.
That's good, because at least that will cut down on the amount of congregating if people can't drive there.
Yeah, so that's what Rick Merson has talked to Bob Lewis and Eddie about, and I think Eddie and actually I know Eddie and his crew are meeting up tomorrow with Rick Merson to talk about how they're gonna proceed with all of this stuff since everybody's not supposed to be driving in vehicles together. So each person has to drive a separate vehicle to go to those locations.
Yes, Chris?
Quick question. I know probably some of the smaller fields are going to be easy to manage, but how are we going to do about DeFazio? I know I was there actually earlier today on the reservoir trail walking my dog, and I saw that they actually had the barriers going up on that access road that leads from the PSAB to the back road of DeFazio. So that's a start.
Yeah.
Traffic wise, yeah, I can see cars not going in. There's going to be a lot of foot traffic, I think, that's going to start doing over that. So are we going
They're
to
gonna have it policed.
Okay.
Yeah, and they're putting up barricades in every direction that they can possibly find right now.
Okay. Oh, that's good. I mean, it's a shame it came to this, but I mean, how many times can you put up a blinking sign that says parks are closed and people just literally drive right by them?
Right, Cindy?
What about the reservoir? Because my husband and I drove through yesterday, drove through DeFazio and then drove through the parking lot at PSAB, and people were fishing. And someone there said, "Oh, it's been stocked with fish, and it's okay. You can fish. The limit is 3," and had a whole list of things. And okay, I didn't know about. So, what's the story over there? Can people still go to the reservoir? Can they still fish?
They can fish, they can walk the trail, they just can't go into the open field space. So what's happening is the biggest concern is the teens. And I also talked to Karen Shannon today about helping her develop a youth campaign and how we're going to push the social distancing with them. She got a call from Tim this afternoon, and then Karen called me wondering what we could try to do and access to try to put that word out to the teens, because a lot of the high school kids and the college kids are just congregating on the fields, playing football, doing everything that they're not supposed to do. But I know I want to say that they're kids, but they're kids that want to be active but aren't just listening to what needs to be done.
Okay, and did we stock that pond? Did we have that pond stocked?
I'm not sure if they stocked it or not. We were at the last conversation I had with Jim from the Mass Wildlife place, said that he wasn't sure when it was going to be stocked because of the corona. So.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Oh, good, I can unmute. So in terms of what we're messaging to other people, families can't use fields, no one can use any of the fields, even if they're using them responsibly.
No, because once they see people on the fields, other people are coming and they're not being responsible, which is sad, but that's kind of where we're at. We have put it out there as though people could be out there and walking the trails and everything, and people just haven't been listening and following what the law is telling them to do right now.
So are we blocking off the trails also, or are we just,
no, the trails
okay,
are still open.
Good. I think it's a start.
Go ahead, Stacy. No, go ahead, Stacy.
So I had two things. One is the whole social distancing, the 6 feet, is really just like some of the research is now coming out from the CDC really just says that's when you have to go out. It's not that we can hang out 6 feet apart. And I think that the public isn't quite grasping that. So the field congregation, they're like, well, we're 6 feet apart, but that's not really the real research behind that. It's you want to be 6 feet apart if you have to go out, but that you shouldn't be congregating 6 feet apart. The second thing that has come to me this week was Karis reached out to me and said Wellesley has made their loop around reservoir or their reservoir a one-way to cut down on the amount of the social crossing. So I'm wondering how we feel about making, is it called NART?
Yeah.
Nice, nailed it. NART and the reservoir and any of our circular trails, should we consider making them one way? so that we don't have people crossing, because that's when the droplets are most concerning.
Yeah.
I would say that's a good start. I mean, at least for the Reservoir Trail and the Eastman Trail, those are the two that kind of jump in my head right now. But the Bay Colony Rail Trail, that's a long straight shot. How are you gonna have people go one way on that?
Well,
I'm
and
not sure we can do for anything that's not circular.
Okay.
I think we can post and make it known that we're doing it for the circular trails, and maybe
Sure.
people will be more aware on the other trails. Fingers crossed. We can
Yeah.
see. Matt, you were going to chime in?
I was just going to ask about the playgrounds at the schools. Are we barricading the schools as well? You know, is that the process that's happening? So,
Yep.
and more of that is just like, are kids and people going to freak out when they see like Jersey barriers at the entrance to Mitchell School, right?
that's what they're doing in Boston right now.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're taking the plan of Boston and they're going to try to replicate it in Needham, is what Rick Merson has said, and Bob Lewis. So they're going to try to do what Boston's doing currently.
I think
And
one of
then-
the things we can do educationally is just tell people nothing's changed. And in a nice way, say you just weren't listening.
Right. It's
Like
a shame it
for
got to
us,
that.
nothing's changed. It's the same thing, so there shouldn't be too much panic. But yes, there is going to be some panic.
Yeah, well, it's less panic. I do agree with you, Stacy. It would be good if we communicate that, hey, based on the fact that we have closed everything and people aren't paying attention, the town is putting in more drastic measures. I agree, but I'm just thinking of a kindergarten kid or a first grader who sees their school barricaded. They're not going to quite get it, right? So it's less of an us issue. It's more just of a public interest issue of, Mommy, I can't go to my school, right? I just think they're dealing with enough as it is. It just could be a little intimidating for them,
Mhm.
or if they're walking down the street, because these are all neighborhood schools.
Right.
Right.
And I think that what they're going to primarily end up doing is, if they can find enough of that Jersey fencing, that they're just going to put it around the playgrounds and not necessarily barricade the whole school or the entrance of the school, but just put that fencing around the playground.
Yeah, Angela, but I'm thinking Newman with the fields and
Yep.
Elliott. You know, everybody's got a field at these schools as well as the playground. So
Right.
you're just going to move people from, hey, I can't go to DeFazio, but I'll go to Newman,
Well,
and
that's
nobody will see me.
We've already done that by closing off the fields. Even though the kids are congregating still on the fields, they're moving from the fields to the basketball courts because we didn't close them, or they're moving to
Right.
the tennis court
Right.
or the
Right.
parking lots because the parking lots aren't closed. So
Chris?
Are we still allowing people at the tennis courts?
the courts are going to be closed
Okay.
as of tomorrow. They're locking everything up.
Okay.
Because people are playing tennis. People
Yeah.
are.
Yeah. and
They were
they-
very appreciative of that, but yeah.
Yeah.
We just can't chance it. I
No.
mean, the numbers are coming in are just skyrocketing, and I think we have to fall in line with best practices here.
Yeah. And we don't really have a choice. The health department's the one that's calling it.
Mhm.
So when the
We-
EOC calls it, we need to follow in line with it. So
Well,
Hey,
and
Sorry,
go ahead, Chris.
Matt.
No,
No,
Chris,
go
go
ahead.
ahead. I didn't raise my
Speaking-
hand. Go ahead.
Thank you, Bobby
Good
Brown. Is Tim in the health department still at the
yeah,
complex?
they are.
Okay, but limited staff, I would assume.
There's 4 of them. There's Tiffany,
Okay,
Tim,
Tim.
Rebecca, and Cindy. And then Karis goes in sometimes, and then Kristen Scoble goes in sometimes. And then I went in last week, but they're there.
okay. I just wasn't sure if also they had a lot of foot traffic. I mean, oh God, I'm trying to think of, people just walking by it and everything. But I mean, with the whole dredging project, which we'll get into in a little bit,
Yeah.
you would think people are just going to be, checking it out just to see what's going on, just to get out, just get
Yeah.
rid of that cabin
The
fever.
trail. I can't tell you how many people. I sat in my car for 5 minutes and I saw families constantly coming in and out of that trail.
Which, on a lighter note, great to see.
Right.
Wish it wasn't these times that they were doing it, but love to
Mhm.
see it.
Yeah.
So, All right, no, it seems like, I mean, with the Board of Health, Tim is, delegating authority, and Ed and Rick Merson, it seems like a lot of people are on the same page. Yeah, I think there's going to be a little bit of a feedback of people being like, I can't believe this is closed, this and that, but we've warned them. We've told them numerous times. We've put up big flashing signs. You know what? Now we got to kind of be the bad cop here and say, listen, field's closed. That's the way it is.
We've
So,
decided that we're going to say it was your choice and we're all going to blame you.
yeah, go ahead, babe. Get in
Well,
line.
that is what we're
Matt,
here, right?
exactly. Matt, you were going to chime in?
No, I just was going to generally ask a question. Have we seen anything about, I've read and we've all heard about the virus is able to stay on surfaces for an extended period of time. Would the artificial turf be a surface in that context? Most people don't think about blades of grass, but I think what potentially could be lost on some folks, same with the track, is those are hard, impervious surfaces, and they may not have realized that they were putting themselves at risk, right? I don't know if it's any different than grass, but it may be worthwhile getting a backup statement from the health department on that, or seeing if there's anything on that, because I do think, people are like, oh, it's a playground, but little Johnny's going to be impervious or whatever. But, it may help our cause to say, hey, look, this does live on the turf, right? Kids spit and do stuff on the turf or whatever. It's just an added thing that might be a not so much in your face that, hey, you were bad kids and now we've got to take your toys away.
The difference is that the playgrounds is all metal. So the virus actually sticks to metal for about 9 days is when they say. Copper is the longest standing one that they say it adheres to. But rubber and any kind of plastic or anything like that, like the track and the artificial surface being rubber, it doesn't adhere as much as it does to the metal. So
Okay.
it doesn't stay as long.
I
There's
want
just
to
a
say,
thought.
even Tim said at the initial meeting with the Board of Selectmen that in regards to playgrounds, they are lowest priority right now.
Yeah.
It's public buildings, it's schools, it's
Yeah.
everything that are going to be deep clean, that it would be pointless to sanitize or disinfect a playground, because once one kid touches it,
It's
it's
exactly.
gone. So,
Yeah.
no, all right, no, that's good. I mean, again, it's a place we didn't think we'd ever have to be, but it's gonna have to be very proactive about it and just deal with it the best way we can. People are gonna be disappointed no matter what we do. If we keep them open or kept them closed, it's the world we're living in right now. We're all have to deal with it.
We
So,
just have to keep educating about the safety measures that we're putting in place, and we're not locking playgrounds, but we're safely keeping children at a distance. We just have to reword some of the education to really push the safety aspect of things.
okay.
Right.
All right. What do we got next?
The two bids that are currently out are pool chemicals and the pool opening. One is due to open on the 8th and one is on the 10th. That's a Wednesday and Friday, respectively, of April. So we've got a couple weeks before those come in. And lastly is you have a question. You don't
Yes,
let me,
quick
let me
question on
like
that.
run through
And
things.
I know I will channel our old board member. Have there been any back channel conversations with any of the inklings of, we know that Weston and Sampson's probably going to put something in. Do we know of any other companies that might be putting in a bid for the opening of the pool, at least, not for the chemicals, but at least for the pool opening?
Weston Sampson is the only one that has acknowledged the bid.
Okay.
So that is generally how we know who's at least acknowledged the bid.
Okay.
I did get an inquiry about another company asking questions about where they could find the bid, but they did not send an acknowledgement. That's not required until the opening. For the
Okay.
chemical bids, there is 3 people that have acknowledged. Leslie is one of them, and there's 2 other general chemical companies. The company that we used for chlorine last year was not one of them.
I assume
Matt?
Leslie is the company we've used in the past.
An Opal, yes.
Okay.
Matt?
So when do we make a decision on the pool and opening? Right,
That's,
a good
I'd hate
question.
to see,
Good
I mean,
question.
and/or are we putting in a clause into these contracts that we have an out, right?
If we don't open,
Yeah,
Yes, so the bid has already, both bids have already had 2 addenda published for the procurements. Both of them, they both got moved, their dates of opening got moved further out. And as this continues to develop, if we need to change wording, the pool startup bid has very specific language about a timeline. Depending on when we know what we know, that might be a third addenda that's put out right before we open the bid. And if the opening gets pushed back further and further, we'll just keep posting addenda and making sure we're covered. From the pre-bid meeting we had about startup, 3 weeks which was what we were estimating during the timeline, was about the amount of time that they were going to need no matter what. So as soon as they can get on site and start the pool opening procedures, then it's at least a 3-week turnaround, if not more, dependent on staffing.
but Kristen, do we have also on the other side any sort of prioritization? So I'm going to assume that we're not going to be alone in this. So if everybody delays their pool opening, that, we're not the 11th pool of that company's plan to open. So we're not, so let's say everybody's allowed to open pools on June 1st, but this company's too busy. So we're not going to be able to get open until the end of July because they can't get to us before then. Like, is there anything in that language, in those languages about that?
it's a good question.
Our original bid has a very specific timeline. So currently the timeline as it stands now is April 27th to May 13th, I think. Might be the 20th. And so that timeline will have to shift if we have to shift it. If, like, for example, if we can't get back onto town property before the 4th of May, that's already going to have to be shifted.
Right, so basically there's a sunset on the opening. They have from whatever
Any day.
option until X amount of weeks to get it done.
Exactly. So
Okay.
that will be a part of when they're putting in the money and putting in the bid. That will be part of what they're agreeing to, what they're contracted to do.
Okay, so we are protected to some degree. All right, good.
Mhm. We're also putting those clauses in all of our verbal staff contracts because we were starting staff hiring virtually right now. We'll get into that when we get to the programming, but when I talk to HR, they are going to come up with the specific wording for the written contracts. But that it is a clause that we are considering and discussing to put in for the staff side of things. That's it. And then the dredging project, I reached out to Tony today to see if he has any other updates outside of the report, and I did not. Let me just triple check here.
Well, at least they have a pile of dirt now.
I
They've had
do.
many piles of dirt from what I've been seeing.
And they were
So,
still, right? I didn't go by today, but they were working last week.
I think they work every single day. I mean, from the report that we got on Friday, it looks like they had 19 truckloads or more. I think it was like maybe 19 in one day. So it seems like they're digging it up. The pictures show, but again, I think we were all there at the last meeting where I think we were a little kind of hesitant when we heard from our town engineer of, oh, we have a contract. It's on paper. They'll be done. They'll be done ahead of time. That, really didn't sit too well, in our minds, but they are working. There's no distractions. There's definitely no traffic concerns.
Mhm.
It's just, I mean, I know we're kind of dealing with a floating timeline of ideally, if we had our best case scenario, we want to go as early as possible. If we want to have our worst case scenario, we're going to have to, just work with it as we can. But I would hope that they would be out of there by the time if we ever had to delay our opening. That I know in regards to the opening, that I know we originally were looking for the beginning or mid-June. We have now lined up that in a perfect world, we want to be opening up on the last day of school, which would be June 25th. Gosh, I would love for it to be earlier, but let's just kind of hold that date and go for that date, which kind of gives everyone a little bit extra time to make sure we get everything done. Because I know Angela and Kristen and Stacy, you've all stressed, and actually everybody's stressed. We need the beach back. before we start doing anything. That we can't move forward until they have their stuff out of there. Part of the contract too is also that they need to make Chambers Cove the same, if not better, as they left it. And that's, you know, that's where the staff parking is or overflow parking is. These are things that we need to hold them accountable for, and it's part of the contract. So again, we're kind of in a, you know, phase where we don't know exactly what's going to happen, but we kind of need to keep the ball rolling in the regards of what we need to hold these people accountable for.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely, I mean, I have not been here through the whole project, but there's been significantly more activity in the last week than there has been since I started staring at the window at the machines not moving.
So Tony had nothing else to add from the conversation you had today? Just it is what it is?
I reached out to him via email because he is remote and I don't have his cell phone number. So I reached out to him and I didn't hear back. So I let him know what we were meeting tonight.
Okay.
You'll hear back Wednesday.
Yeah, he's
Oh,
not impressed. I think he's not all that impressed with the Park and Rec.
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
Cindy, you were breaking up on that. Say that again.
Cindy, can you hear us?
I can. Can you hear me?
No, can you repeat what you
You were
said?
breaking up on that.
Oh, sorry. I don't know why. I had a call earlier and they told me my audio was not great and I don't know why. And Angela is muted. She can't unmute herself.
Oh, really?
If you
Sorry.
mute yourself, you can't come up. That's the problem.
If you mute,
I unmuted all of you. Now you have to purposely mute yourself to do it.
all right, Angela, try it now.
If you do mute yourself, you can't unmute.
Try
So
again,
it could be a
Angela.
setting.
I
like
clicked the new setting. Yep, I changed it.
This is fantastic.
This is great.
One of the things I forgot to say was that because we are live recording all of the group chat, if somebody wants to download it, can download it afterwards, even if you use private message. So if you're talking smack about me from one person to the another, I can read it later.
Delete.
Exactly. And also for those of you that are Zooming elsewhere, you should also keep that in mind. When you download the whole thing, all the private messages come back up.
Gotcha.
No, since I don't know how to private message right now.
She's going to stick to raising her hand like
Oh,
a kid,
boy.
school kid.
Yes. Hey, I just started a couple days ago. Sorry. I'm new to Zoom.
We all are.
Yeah. Yes.
The
yes.
70s are coming back. I want to Zoom. No.
Oh, God. What?
Oh boy.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Next subject.
So do we as a commission and the staff want to talk about a date that if we got to a date and the situation we're in is still pretty, may not open the pool?
Yeah, I think we need to have that conversation at some point. I think we need to talk about knowing that we have that conversation. I am still hopeful that we can get to summer and have at least some of it. So I'm unwilling to even discuss that at this time. But I think if this gets pushed out past May 4th, or if we lose the end of the school year, then we have to really make some concerted decisions about whether or not what we do with our summer programs.
So Stacy, on that line, what is the line that we are giving people who are looking to buy passes if they are looking to buy passes or programs? So so we all know what's the party line. What are we saying?
Sure. So the party line is if we cancel, you get your money back. So if whatever we have to do, one of the things that we are coming up with, and I'm playing phone tag with Dave Davison, is coming up with a scholarship fund. So what we're going to do, especially with pool passes, is give them the option to get a refund, postpone it to next summer, or if you want to donate your money to families in need for next summer or other programming in the fall, then that will start to grow a base of monies that we can use to offset the large amount of money that you guys push out or we push out in scholarships every year. So they'll have options, but if they do want their money back, then we will absolutely return it.
What we did when we had to delay the pool opening the first year was give them the option, basically exactly what you said, either the commission made the choice not to raise the fees for the following year, and just to either, you had the option to refund or hold it over. It was received well.
I would say if we ever have to get to that for this year, we would want to adopt the same policy of
Mhm.
keep the pool fees for this year the same as next year. I know we took an increase this year, but hopefully we'll at least have a season. But we have to kind of keep that on the back burner that if we don't have a full season, we're gonna have to look at extending the same cost that we put in this season for next season.
Yeah.
And not take a bump.
Yeah, the only thing that we'll really have to educate people is if they do want a refund, we have to refund before June 30th, as it's the end of the fiscal year. And by that point, we should know whether or not we're opening or not. Certainly ahead of that, we should know.
Well, maybe Stacy, to your point, we should use that as the deadline and work backwards from when we need to have the conversation. So if June 30th is the drop dead date that people can activate, that likely means that by June 1st, we have to decide.
Agree. Cool.
We're
That's it for
probably
the
gonna have
director's
to
report.
decide a little bit more before June 1st, only because we have to train our guards.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Good
no,
point.
I agree, Angela. Yeah, the
point.
staffing,
You know,
yeah. But, well, the thing is that, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of factors. Yeah, but I'm just,
it
So-
goes into play with all that other stuff.
Angela, what date would you be comfortable with?
Well, we're already looking at May, and then, you know, and then we still have to go through the hiring process of getting everything approved through HR, which takes another 2 weeks.
Correct.
before they can even start. And then we don't know if, you know, what date the pool's going to be ready for the kids to train at this point. So, you know, ideally, as soon as possible, as soon as we can get them in, you know, since we have most of the college kids home already and they're not going back. So that's a bonus on our end. So we can train them sooner than later and they can be part of the training to help us. But again, it's all going to depend on the situation and the circumstances.
well, I guess, though, Angela, what's
Yeah.
the timeline for when we make the decision to actually hire them? Right, so if we don't
Yeah.
know whether the pool's gonna open on,
Exactly.
let's, June 3rd, let's just say June 30th is when the pool's gonna open, then we work backwards to when we would actually hire, right? Because we
Right.
can't, to your point, we can't commit right now
No,
on hiring anybody.
and that's the hard part. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, fortunately, I believe that there's gonna be a scarcity of summer jobs this summer.
hmm
Fortunately and unfortunately. Fortunately for us, in that we should be able to have people and be a demand thing, but unfortunately for the kids and the economy. But, you know, so maybe we have a little bit of a leg up, but because you know, with something planned, but, and we, you know, outdoor activities and all that, but,
You got to think about all the kids that did work at the away camps that live in town that are now, like you said, you know, the jobs are going to be slim because of that. And so they're going to be, you know, we have lifeguards that have worked at camps last summer that aren't going back to their camps this summer that have applied.
Right.
So, you know, it's good for us, but at the same time, it's not the situation we want to be in.
Right.
And companies are canceling internships. I mean, that's happening in the coming weeks. So there will be a lot of people that, even if they had internships to begin with, they will be canceled. The majority of them will be.
well, and also, Michelle, places like the BSC and retail and everything, they're closed now, so they can't even hire summer people. There's nobody to hire, right? So the BSC is closed. Their camp is God knows where, right? So they're not even, so the jobs that were there for summer aren't even, you can't even hire. We're fortunate that you guys are working from home.
Right.
What is the deal with like Lifetimes and other places? Like, are they closed? Like Lifetime Athletics and
Yep.
All
such?
gyms are closed, yeah.
All gyms. Jeez.
BSC, as soon as this started, they closed and laid off everybody.
ACC is probably the same.
Yeah.
Wow. Matt, as you said, it could be this, not to be the positive guy here, but this could be a blessing in disguise that we could have too many people
Mhm.
coming,
Yeah.
you know, and if we do make it through, it could be great for us, but it's just, you know, again, I hope that happens, but I hope everyone makes it out of this, you know, all businesses.
Yeah.
So, one thing I know, and I know we've been kind of all jumping around here, but I know, can we kind of dive into the program report? And again, I do have to say, I'm throwing compliments out here. Angela and Chris and everybody, I think it's great, again, the social media campaign that you guys have been putting out here. Kim, I know you've been part of it too, of just, you know, the activities that people have been out there with the sidewalk chalk, the lights going on. I know my neighbor across the street has an obnoxious Christmas decorations up right now.
Nice.
So anything to kind of get this out there, I think it's that, you know, it's that silver lining of what's going on, of make the best out of the situation that you can. And I think you folks are doing a fantastic job about doing this. And I just want to, you know, again, throw that out there and just, you know, do the best that we can. I mean, I know with the programs that we have going on, I'd love to get your feedback. What are people saying of, hey, listen, just push it to next year, or people really asking for that refund? I know each individual case is different, but I mean, what are you folks seeing from emails and phone calls and things like that?
Kim, Kristen?
Yeah.
We've settled with our policy. So what Kim and I have been doing is processing anything that had started. For example, youth tennis was in its third of the 5 weeks that it was running. Those were just credits back. But if it was a program that we have now outright canceled, our spring session of senior yoga, our spring session of senior exercise, adult yoga, all of those, we are refunding them. The fact that we had to cut our adult sports short, so badminton, volleyball, basketball, they're getting credits because it's like $8 because this is the very end of their season.
Right.
Anybody that's April vacation programming, completely refunded. Anyone that has of those group that has, they're like, oh, that $11 is going to make or break me, of course we're going to refund it. Like that's the policy. As it stands, we still have adult tennis and 2 early release days. Kim, correct me if I'm wrong, 2 early release days.
Yep.
Adult tennis, senior golf. Senior golf is currently delayed, but that's where Angela's been working with the golf club to make sure that we can't hold the program if the pro shop's closed, which is currently closed.
Yep. Okay.
So, and there are a couple of our lovely senior golf humans who've reached out and they're like, "What's the deal?" You know, and they're happy to hear that we're just postponing.
Oh, good. Okay. Good. All right. What else would anybody like to be talking about? I know we can kind of jump into the chairman and unanticipated. One thing I know I would want to bring up is, I know we probably saw the Facebook or town message in regards to the CPC articles. That we did have a few that got moved over, being the Claxton Field renovation, the resurfacing of the track, the rail trail marker, and the only one that I was assigned to was the Needham Community Garden. That honestly, it was a shame, as Kristen saw. I kind of want to push that one through because it almost was a slam dunk, but CPC decided to go the way of, they're going to push all the articles off till the special town meeting in who knows when. But one thing that did stick out to me that I got clarification on, if you read the social media post that was out there, the Walker Pond Association, that has nothing to do with us. That is actually a citizen's petition in regards to the response of the Board of Health of having one of those members or one of those neighbors connect to the sewer. Because I know that we had pushed off our, agreement to, hey, we'll get a working group going again and this and that. When I saw that, I had to question it because it read of, oh, it has to be the Walker Pond Association in regards to the cleaning of it. It is not. It's just to have that person to connect to the local sewer instead of being on a, not a sump pump, but a
Septic.
So are they looking for CPC funds to do that?
Oh, it was a citizen's petition that they were asking, because the Board of Health, from what I've heard, is originally, and I cannot remember the house number, but the house that is on the septic system had a 5-year window to connect to the town sewer. They didn't do it. The Board of Health and the town engineer said, we'll give you an 18-month extension. After that, we're going to start legal proceedings. That what it is, it's a citizen's petition to ask for a longer period of time over that 18 months.
Well, the
Oh.
owner of the house, doesn't he live in Israel?
Yeah, he does. I was at that Board of Health meeting.
Oh, cool. And Kim, what do you have to add? Was that pretty much on spot, or am I completely off?
No, you're right. He was like, he was hoping to get an extension, so they gave him a slight extension because he's not in the country.
Mhm.
But the problem is he's not like one end or the other. He's kind of in the middle, so he's trying to get the neighbors more involved too. So,
Okay.
kind of a disaster for Tara right now.
All right. I will go commissioner by commissioner if there's any other subject you would like to bring up. So not just going by order, I'm just going by what's on the top of the screen. Commissioner Toolin, do you have anything that you would like to add or bring up during this discussion of an unanticipated by the chair?
Two things. What is the status of town elections?
Postponed last time I saw. Until
Postponed
June.
until May 26th.
Oh yeah, Matt, you're
What
stuck with us.
status-
Sorry, can't go anywhere, dude.
Right, what is the status of Mr. Tulin? That's my question.
Let's
I
see,
guess
that's
I'm
a
here until there's
50-50.
somebody elected.
Should we flip a quarter? Keep them or gas them?
I think you.
I think we keep them.
I guess so. No, I mean, what it is, I would assume that anybody that has a position that was supposed to expire on a certain time frame has now been extended until they actually officially have a town election.
That's what I assume too. That's fine. I haven't
stuck.
been informed when yeah, I figured. And then I would just like us to raise, and I know, Chris, you talked about fellow Commissioner Dave DeChico. I would like to have a discussion at some future date about what we can do to honor him properly. Whether it's a naming topic or something else. I just, I feel that it's worth the discussion. I don't have any ideas, but I figure we as a commission could put some ideas together, but it's a topic for a future agenda.
There's no doubt that there's a place that needs to be represented for the way Dave treated the town and the way that he represented the town. So that is definitely something that will happen no matter what.
Agreed.
Agreed.
Absolutely.
All right, going through Vice Chair Chasten. Hi.
I don't really have any topics. I would like to thank all of the staff, Stacy and Angela and Kristen and Kim and Chris Burnham is joining us from the mountains apparently. I would
Very
like
windy
to,
up there.
very windy.
Can't
Hope you
hear us.
enjoyed it. But thank you, because I think you guys are doing yeoman's work, and it is extremely stressful right now. I can't even imagine, because it's stressful in my life, but my job, and it's part-time. So thank you, and thank you for being the face of Park and Rec through this time, because I really appreciate it, and the commission appreciates it.
You're welcome.
Good
No
job.
problem.
Good job. All right,
It
I'm
is a
always
weird
gonna,
onboarding process to
was
show
gonna-
up
what,
for
3
3 weeks and then
3
they're
weeks
like,
stay,
you gotta
so?
go home now.
All right, I will call her Commissioner Young, but she's always a Geddes. What do you have, Miss Young Geddes?
Versa. No, I don't have anything more to add. No other topics for me.
All right,
I have
no.
one
Oh, geez, come on.
Sorry. So has our new assistant town manager started? Katie, I think her name is? No,
No.
June 1st.
June 1st?
June 1st.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, now I'll just kind of go through everyone else on the
Matt.
call.
Hold on.
Sorry, Chris,
Oh,
one
sorry.
last question.
Someone raised a finger. Go ahead.
Don't do that. It's
I
do
know.
recorded.
Oh, that's Chris. Speaking of, so do we have an estimate? You know, I know that most spring sports or all spring youth sports are going to be canceled at this stage, or maybe depending on what happens May 4th. Do we have an estimate from Parks and Forestry on how long it will take to get fields up to snuff if they are, if indeed we get free at some point? Like, because we're doing all this barricading, do we know what it's going to take to return?
Well, they're not allowed on the fields as it is right now, regardless.
No, I
Maybe
understand,
who?
Angela. What I'm saying
Limited
is,
staff.
let's say if school, let's say school does go back on May 4th, or we're allowed to have some abbreviated youth sports season, or even for the summer sports, the permits that we have. Do we have a timeline from Parks and Forestry on how long it will take them to get the fields ready so that those teams can participate?
Yeah, the last I talked to Eddie, and Angela, you may have more updated information, was it's going to take a good 2 to 3 weeks, if not slightly longer, to get them up to snuff. So for all intents and purposes, we've lost the spring season. So it would be in order to get up for the summer season. And whether or not some of the youth sports try to elongate into the summer is fine, but it's going to take a few weeks to get these fields up and running.
That's what I figured.
Just one thing I'd like to add, I'm going to be wearing my baseball hat now, is that when speaking with LJ Gage, who is the president of Needham Baseball, he has reached out to the other spring sports organizations, and they are looking for a consistent message in regards to soccer and lacrosse, anything that's out there, that it would be very awkward to have two of the sports groups cancel and a third one go on as is. So I think they're looking for consistency, that if baseball plays, they're looking for the other two to play, but they're not going to force it. I think they would go by majority. So if one cancels, they're all probably going to cancel. I hope it doesn't come to that, but if that's the way it is, I think that's a great way to be at least have the consistency with what we're trying to do as a town and what the youth sports organizations are trying to do also. But again, hope it doesn't come to that, but people are already starting to have those types of conversation.
The MIAA has a meeting tonight to decide whether or not they're going to have any kind of season for the
Who
spring.
was that?
Yeah,
MIAA.
the high
School
school.
sports.
Yep.
Yeah.
Has soccer canceled the Memorial Day tournament yet?
That's a good question.
No.
Chris?
If they
Oh,
have,
no.
they haven't notified
They
me.
have.
Okay.
We
I'm
should.
glad this commission has no conflict of interest. That's wonderful.
What? I don't.
No, it's speaking to our constituents.
Okay.
We are in the community, Stacy. We are.
Exactly.
Yes, I know.
We are
It's
not
revenue.
a paper pushing committee.
It's revenue.
Right.
So,
All right.
all right. So finally, let's kind of go through the last ones. Kim, anything to add that you have heard, seen, like to voice right now?
Nope, nothing.
Okay, cool. Chris from the mountains, if you can hear me.
Okay.
Can you speak up?
I'm sorry, I'll yodel to you.
No, I'm all set.
All right, great. Angela, anything that you would like to follow up on or insert?
No, I'm good for now. Thank you.
All right. Stacy, what do you have? Anything?
Yes, I have two things. As far as the pool opening, just for the staff, I think the governor's done a good job about not waiting to the last minute when he postpones these school cancellations. So I think we'll know way ahead of May 4th if we're going to postpone. And I think we can actively start discussing pool closures if necessary once we hear back from the governor, if we hear again from him. So that's the one thing that I'm sort of waiting on is, and he's been really good about reaching out, not the Friday before, except in the beginning. In the beginning, he was a little lax, but this last time he was better.
And I want to pipe in on that comment too, because being a part of the EOC, I've been able to get a lot of inside information that hasn't gone out yet to the public. So they kind of know what's happening along the line, and they're very good about letting us know what's about to happen.
Okay.
Great.
I'm sorry, Stacy, you have something else? I have a
Yes.
question, a
Well,
follow-up question.
I have two things. One, I would like to hear you yodel. And
No,
two,
The best
no.
for last. Come on.
and I just want to know, I'm not going to put the entire staff through. I mean, I will invite, but not require that they join our next Zoom meeting. But I'm wondering when you would like to meet again. Should it be a couple weeks? Should it be the same?
I would like to do it every 2 weeks. I
Okay.
mean, let's start being consistent. I mean,
Okay.
in this times that you're going to hear a lot of, oh, I heard this, oh, I heard that. Let's start all being on the same page and get back to consistency. I know that the select board, yeah, they're going a little bit to the extreme, which is fine. But I think with us, I think with communicating with the Park and Forestry, the Board of Health, and everything that's on there, I think a 2-week cycle is a perfect time to do this. If anything jumps up in the meantime, we can definitely communicate through other channels. But in regards to regular meetings like this, let's keep on going for the next 2 weeks and keep on going and go from there.
Okay. I will set up another Zoom meeting for 2 weeks out.
Perfect. One follow-up question that I'm way thinking outside the box here, and this is something to ask in regards to the pool. God forbid we don't open. What happens to the piping or the guts of the pool if we don't run it for a season? Because that means we would technically be down for 2 seasons. Would that cause any harm or disarray or anything like that that could hurt the opening of the pool, that God forbid if we had to only open up in 2021?
So I can double check with Weston and Sampson if we get to that, but I know that a typical pool, shall we say, can stay winterized for many seasons, and there's no issues with it, with the piping, because it is a winterized facility. But I would certainly, if we got to that, I would double check with Weston and Sampson and see if there's any additional procedures we need to do in order to stay down throughout the summer season.
I think that we would definitely want to shock the pool regardless.
Sure.
Absolutely.
Do bare minimum, at least something, just to do something.
Yep.
Just because of the way it was closed, it is.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Angela, get that crap out of there.
Yeah. It's good to
That's recorded, Matt. Thanks.
get that stuff out. So it
That's
doesn't
the nicest word you could use to describe what's in the pool.
So,
See, I'm on target.
all right.
I would also think it would be good if there are any other things that you think we should take care of this summer, whether or not we open. Because we had a list of things that we thought needed to be addressed, and some of those could still be addressed and maybe should be. So if you guys.
That's a good point. That's a really good point, Cindy.
So there are some, Cindy, that is a good point. And there are some things that we are trying to move on now to get ready for the opening. And there are things like our software system demonstrations that if we unfortunately would have to close, then we have a whole summer of potentially flipping that over, which is a very long and tedious process. But it would open up some time for that. So if you have to look at the silver lining, that could be it for the summer.
Okay.
Are you thinking of the maintenance issues too, Cindy? Of what needs to be done down there?
I am.
I'm seeing that too.
That we could get done this year. Even if we don't end up opening to the public, there may be some things we could do. And I don't know where the money would come from, but Kate, at one point, right, she kind of promised us whatever we needed. I don't know if she'll still feel that way after we get through this situation and there's, lots of other priorities, but why not of it and get some things fixed and addressed and just upgraded, right, before we go to another.
Yeah, I think if we can certainly tackle any maintenance issues that doesn't involve starting up the pool, then that would be huge. The cost of starting up the pool in order to fix something may be cost prohibitive if we're not going to gain any entrance fees or registration fees for it. But we would definitely take a look at what those things are and if they could start it up. There's no way to like half start a pool. You either open it or you don't.
Right.
And so depending on how much that cost is going to be, we'll factor in how much maintenance we get done. But like I said, anything not to do with the filtration or the pump system, we should definitely do.
Okay.
And
Good.
The things that Cindy's looking at is like the water pressure valve that needs to be installed.
Yes, those things
call.
can definitely
Good
be
call.
done. Definitely.
Fixed. The spray
The
deck
racking.
fixed.
Mhm.
The
Yes.
racking.
Yeah.
Just all those little things that could be done down there.
Yeah.
The air or the HV or the HVAC system that needs to be put in.
Yep.
Yep.
Um,
That's a
Definitely.
good call.
so those things.
Shelving system, those kinds of things can definitely be handled.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, folks, it is now 7:57. Is there anything else that people would like to bring up for a last call of an agenda item? Or
Mr. Chair, I just want to remind you of a CPC meeting on the 13th of April, which would be 2 weeks from today.
fantastic, it's on my calendar.
Oh,
Wait,
so in other words, don't plan a meeting for 2 weeks from today?
That's,
That was-
that's
Kristen.
what I'm saying.
Yeah, damn, I'm the one that asked for it too. Ugh, that's
You did.
right.
I
did
will
ask for
reach
the
out with
13th of
another
April.
time.
Yes, so if we could possibly do Tuesday, the following day, that would be great, because it'd be fresh in my mind a day after. Kristen, thank you for keeping me honest, as Commissioner Tulin likes to say.
You're
All
welcome.
right. Thank you, Kristen.
All right.
Thanks, everybody.
Motion
Yeah.
All
to
right, I
adjourn.
appreciate everyone being on the call. Thank you.
Motion to adjourn.
You have to
Motion to adjourn. Make the
Second.
motion, we adjourn.
I'll second.
I'm gabbling.
I don't know, want to know with what? See ya.
Lemonade.
Uh-huh.
Uh-huh.
All right. Bye-bye, everybody.
All right, bye.
Bye.